I don't know how Derek Mason still has a job. But I do know that he will be fighting for it in 2020. Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, the best kept secret in all of college football. Today bringing you our 2020 Vanderbilt Commodores college football predictions. As always, make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, and share our videos. And also make sure to check out everything down in the description below, where you can visit our new website, thegridironexpert.com, and also follow us on social media over on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So when you look at Derek Mason's body of work, it is amazing that he still is employed down in Nashville. Mason's compiled just a 27-47 record, entering his 7th year with Vanderbilt. That includes no winning seasons during that time and just 2 bowl appearances, both of those resulting in losses. And I really don't know if he can miraculously get Vanderbilt to that bowl mark in 2020. They went just 3-9 last year, the only wins coming over Northern Illinois, East Tennessee State, and somehow Missouri. And none of their 9 losses, 0 of their 9 losses, came by 1 possession. Their closest loss was by 17 points. They just weren't competitive, guys. And when you look at their roster, they might not be competitive again going into this upcoming season. We'll start on the offense here. Vanderbilt only won 3 games and had the 123rd ranked offense in the country last year, with playmakers like Ke'Shawn Vaughn, their 1,000-yard rusher, their top wide receiver in Kalijah Lipscomb, and their tight end Jared Pinkney. All of those guys were with Vanderbilt in 2019, and their offense was abysmal. Now all of those guys are gone. And on top of that, they lose their top 3 passers from last year. Vanderbilt had tons of quarterback questions, but the top 3 guys are now gone as well. So TODD FITCH, the new offensive coordinator for Vanderbilt, is going to have a lot of shoes to fill and is really going to have his work cut out for him. More than likely, the freshman, Ken Seals, is going to start for Vandy. He's a highly touted recruit coming out of college, and coming out of high school, and maybe he'll give Vanderbilt the spark that they need, but he's going to have to build some quick chemistry with his pass catchers. He's going to have to find a guy to complement him in the run game, and the offense, I just don't know if they can improve from one that averaged just 16.5 points per game, good enough for 125th in the country last year. The defense, guys, we know Derek Mason's a defensive-minded coach. We know that's kind of his strength, and luckily, they returned all of their starters. Vanderbilt's defense is going to be very, very experienced, but can it result in improvement? They ranked 101st in the country last year in total defense, but they returned their top 2 tacklers in Dimitri and Dashawn Jerkins. That defensive line, guys, is more than likely going to be the strength for Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt secondary and their linebacking core, not bad. They got experience, but not nearly as good as I think the defensive line is going to be. And that's, of course, how you win in the SEC, is you win in the trenches. Got to win up front, offensive line and defensive line, but their secondary needs to improve as well. They were 66th in the country last year in their passing defense, but last in the SEC when it came to interceptions and passes defended. So a lot of questions going into 2020 for Derek Mason and Vanderbilt. Can they just show some improvement? They've got a young team offensively. They've got a veteran team defensively. Can it result in maybe a few SEC wins? I will say that I do think it opens up with a season-opening win over Mercer. So look at that. Vanderbilt is 1-0. Things are okay right now for Derek Mason. But then the schedule gets tough, guys, and that's what you have to look at here too. When you play in the SEC, your schedule is tough enough as it is. But this year is exceptionally tough for Vanderbilt because they have to go to Missouri, to Georgia, to Kentucky, to Texas A&M, and they draw a road game at Kansas State in the non-conference as well. Don't sleep on that Louisiana Tech game either, a very dangerous non-conference game. So they're 1-0 with a win over Mercer. We think they dropped to 1-1 with a loss at Missouri, a team that, as we mentioned, they somehow beat last year. They somehow beat Barry Odom and Kelly Bryant and the Tigers last year 21-14. That was their lone SEC win in 2019 and just the 10th SEC win over the past 6 years under Derek Mason. I think Missouri is a team that's kind of like Vanderbilt. They're going to struggle mightily offensively, and I think their strength is going to be their defense. But they certainly have way more talent offensively than Vanderbilt does. They have an offensive-minded head coach in Eli Drinkwitz, and they've got the home field advantage in this one as well. So I think Vandy drops the game to Missouri. I think they drop the game to Kansas State as well. A team that's got a veteran QB in Skylar Thompson, a team that exceeded expectations in year one under Chris Kleiman in the Big 12. He came from North Dakota State to K-State and pretended like nothing ever happened. Wildcats went 8-5 before losing to Navy in the Liberty Bowl. This is a good Kansas State team, guys, one that should win anywhere between 7 to 9 games again in 2020. Their defense was 44th in the country last year. They have 7 returning starters returning on that side of the ball. This is no way. There's no way that Vanderbilt goes on the road to Manhattan and defeats the Wildcats, even though they beat Kansas State 14-7 back in Nashville in 2017. So they are 1-2, wrapping up non-conference or slight non-conference in September. They take on Colorado State, now led by Steve Addazio, the former Boston College head coach. And I do think they take care of business against the Rams. I do think they defeat Colorado State out of the Mountain West. They have a lot of questions across the board, 2 returning starters on the offensive line, and that's really going to be the key for me in this game. As we've mentioned how strong Vandy's defensive line can be, and I think they kind of exploit the weaknesses up front for Colorado State and generate enough pressure on Patrick O'Brien. They generate enough pressure on this Colorado State offense that was just mediocre last year, and they're able to snag a close win over the Rams. Keep in mind, guys, this is no guaranteed victory. Because last year, UNLV out of the Mountain West came into Nashville and defeated Vanderbilt 34-10. So Colorado State, Louisiana Tech, Mercer even. They are not guaranteed wins for Derek Mason and his squad. They cannot afford another UNLV incident to conclude September, and I do not think that happens. So I think they're 2-2 going into the bulk of SEC play at the beginning of October. I think we can automatically mark down a loss here for Georgia. It wasn't too long ago that a few years ago, Vanderbilt and Derek Mason went into Athens and stole the win. Not too long ago that happened. No way this year. Georgia's got the number 1 defense in the country. Vanderbilt would be lucky if they score a touchdown in this game. Take that back. Vanderbilt would be lucky if they score 6 points in this game, just 2 field goals. I don't think they can do it. In Athens, that defense and offense now led by Jamie Newman and a very young but talented wide receiver core, Georgia should take care of this game easily despite only winning by 24 last year. Vanderbilt then gets Ole Miss. Now, this is a winnable SEC game for Vanderbilt. Now, it did not show up last year, falling to the Rebels 31-6. But this is a game in Nashville, a game that, with Ole Miss and their defense, maybe Vandy can exploit some weaknesses there and put up some points. Because I don't think Lane Kiffin's going to have the best of defenses in year one down in Oxford. But I do think that Ole Miss is going to have a fantastic offense. Brilliant offensive mind in Lane Kiffin. You've got John Rice Plumlee. You've got Jerry and Ely. You've got Elijah Moore at wide receiver. Kiffin knows how to utilize that type of talent. He knows how to utilize that type of speed. We saw that last year when they faced off against Vanderbilt. I think you see it again, but better in 2020. So despite Vanderbilt getting to host this game, I don't think that experienced defense is enough to shut down this Ole Miss offense. And again, if Vanderbilt ever finds themselves in some sort of a shootout, it's not going to benefit them. Vanderbilt needs games that are low scoring and defensive led. Vanderbilt's kind of like Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech, arguably the worst team in the ACC going into 2020. Not a great offense, but more experienced and veteran-led defense. It's the exact same case for Vanderbilt. They are going to need to rely on those slower, low-scoring games. They won't have any chance of winning. Ole Miss will not provide that. They fall to the Rebels. They fall on the road to Kentucky as well. Another stout defense, but an offense that has one of the best offensive lines in the country. Now has a legit quarterback under center in Terry Wilson. And then, of course, 2 great running backs led by Asen Rose. So, Kentucky and Mark Stoops, a team that beat Vanderbilt 38-14 last year, really is probably going to be able to do that just about again, if not better, in 2020. They beat them by 24 last year. Probably going to do it by 24 or more again in this upcoming season. It's a Kentucky team that can win anywhere between 7 to 9 games. So Vanderbilt, they were 2-2. Now they're 2-5, which means they can only afford one more loss. They wouldn't have any chance of going bowling. And I don't think that's the expectation in 2020, but what Vanderbilt needs to see is improvement. They need to see that with a young offense, they're at least putting up better stats, they're at least being more competitive. Keep in mind, closest loss last year was just 17 points. Not very competitive. If they show that, Derek Mason might be able to keep his job without getting to the postseason. They've lost 3 straight. They get a bye week. They get a Halloween date against South Carolina. This is another winnable SEC game for Vanderbilt. I think the most winnable games for them are Ole Miss and South Carolina, and luckily both of them fall in Nashville, fall at home. The Commodores lost to the Gamecocks 24-7 last year, but South Carolina, once again, has a great defense, especially in the secondary, under Will Muschamp. And I do think that offensively, as bad as they were last year, I think offensively they do improve. Despite the lack of talent at wide receiver, despite some questions at running back, I think Ryan Helinski, if he stays healthy, takes a step forward in year 2 as the full-time starter. And South Carolina is going to be flirting with bowl eligibility this year, but they're going to need this win. They've got to win those winnable games. It's a bigger game for South Carolina than it is for Vanderbilt. So despite the week of rest, the Commodores do fall to the Gamecocks. If we can get this L to pop up here. And I certainly think they fall to Florida and Texas A&M. We breezed through those very quickly. Florida and Georgia, top 2 teams in the East. Vanderbilt, no match for them, especially after falling 56-0 last year. Texas A&M, kind of the same thing, guys. A 16 returning starters down in College Station for Jimbo Fisher, and the schedule is very, very favorable for them. The only thing that could help Vanderbilt in this scenario is that Florida will be coming off a Georgia game that if they lose, maybe they're hungover and upset. Keep in mind, last time Florida visited Nashville, they were down 21-3 before winning 37-27. It's a 10-point win. So that is one thing that Vanderbilt could benefit from. And for Texas A&M, the Aggies finish up the season with back-to-back games against Alabama and LSU. So maybe Jimbo Fisher and the Aggies overlooked them and are looking ahead to what could be an SEC West championship against Alabama in the second to last week of the season. But I don't see either of those things happening. Not with the talent that Florida brings back, not with the game being in College Station. Vanderbilt loses both of those. And yeah, we've got them losing to Louisiana Tech as well. We've got them losing to the Bulldogs, led by Skip Holtz, guys. And I will just tell you straight up, Vanderbilt is losing one of the 2 non-conference games to Colorado State and Louisiana Tech. They're losing one of them. They're not winning both. And I think the most likely loss comes here to Louisiana Tech, a team that went 10-3 last year, a team that beat Miami in their bowl game last year, shut them out, I should add, shut out the Hurricanes. They're a team that, yes, loses Jamar Smith at quarterback, but if they find a good replacement for him, they're set. Offensively, they're set. And I don't know if this Vanderbilt defense can stop them. It's going to be a tough game for the Commodores. They've struggled in the non-conference under Derek Mason, and while many might think this is a quick win for them, Tech is no easy pushover out of the Conference USA. Skip Holtz has shown that, beating or at least contending against some solid Power 5 opponents across the board, a lot of them in the SEC. Vanderbilt falls to the Bulldogs here, and of course we have them falling to their in-state rival in Tennessee in the season finale. A Tennessee game they lost 28-10 last year and allowed their running back, Eric Gray, to put up 246 yards and 3 touchdowns on the ground. Now Tennessee returns all 3 of their major running backs. Just need better play out of Jarrett Garantano. I think they get just enough in this game. He won't have to do too much. Just keep pounding the rock with the running backs. And that's going to result in a 2-10 season for Vanderbilt, guys. 2-10 for Derek Mason in year 7 at Vanderbilt. And if that's the case, if this pans out, Derek Mason, after 7 years, is going to have a 29-57 record. 29-57 after 7 years. That's not cutting it. The James Franklin days, guys, were some of the best in Vanderbilt history. And I don't think our whiteboard likes the 2-10 prediction. But the James Franklin days were some of the best in Vanderbilt football history. The Commodores are going to really struggle to replicate what he did. winning 8 or 9 games, winning their bowl games. He did something that really no one had ever been able to do before in Nashville. You're not looking for that from Derek Mason. You're just looking to get to a bowl game every now and again and try not to get embarrassed every week. They got embarrassed every week last year. They're probably going to get embarrassed every week this year. And I think with a 2-10 record, the Commodores will be moving on. Derek Mason, after 7 years, will be out of a job in Nashville, and the Commodores will be looking for a brand new head coach, one that can maybe slowly start inching them a little bit closer to respectability in the SEC, and maybe just more bowl games and more bowl appearances than Mason was able to provide in 7 years at the job. So 2-10 for Vanderbilt in 2020. Wrapping up our SEC predictions here. Guys, I hope Vanderbilt has better days coming ahead for them. So guys, thank you so much for watching us here on YouTube at The Gridiron Expert. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, and share our videos. Make sure to continue to check out everything down in the description below, where you can visit our new website, thegridironexpert.com, and also follow us on our social media pages over on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And once again, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time right here on The Gridiron Expert.